Here's a Mogwai you might find at the mosh pit. Here's a look at the NECA Toys Gremlins Punk Mogwai. From the classic movies Gremlins and Gremlins 2 The New Batch, NECA is bringing back some fan favorites long out of production, plus adding a brand new character. Each figure features ball-jointed ears, necks, shoulders, forearms, wrists, hips, and fully movable eyes. A small wall carefully concealed on the back of the head allows you to move the pupils in all directions to create many different looks and expressions for your figures. Forget about the rules with this one. This one even likes to blast the music after midnight. So annoying. Before we get a closer look, though, at Punk Mogwai, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA Toys that did make this review possible by providing the sample that we're about to have a look at. Grabbing the tape measure, and you're probably wondering why it's so far down like this. It's just because I'm freeing up some space for what I'll do in a moment. In the meantime, though, Punk Mogwai, counting the tops of similar-looking mohawks to the lead singer of Prodigy, you're looking actually at the Punk Mogwai being 3.5 inches in height, or the figure's 9 centimeters tall. Though it may not always seem the case, there is a method to my madness. The reason why I brought the camera back like this was to bring in a gremlin. And I thought, seeing as we don't ever bring in Brain, here's what Punk Mogwai looks like with Brain Gremlin. And of course, as well, to compare it with similar-sized bodies, just to move over Punk Mogwai and bring in Gizmo. Gizmo and Punk Mogwai, other than just a change of head, seems to be sharing a lot of the same molds, arms, torso, body, and at least the legs. No real accessories. Not that these figures necessarily needed them anyways. Picking up Punk Mogwai and getting a closer look at the figure right now. Now, of the figures that they have released so far, this happens to be the 6th Mogwai, and it actually happens to be the brand new Mogwai released in this re-release from NECA Toys. All the other Gremlin Mogwais that we've gotten up to this point are simply just re-releases to the ones we've already gotten before from the new batch. This one is the unique one and brand new release to this year. Getting a closer look, though, at Punk Mogwai. Definitely very different, especially, again, when we bring back in Gizmo, you can see the differences between the two. The bodies look to be exactly the same, as well as similar the hands and the arms. Legs also seem to be identical to one another. No, where one is unique from Gizmo here is the fact that this one does have, first of all, these big giant mohawks off to the sides, just above the eyebrows. And they're nicely tipped. You can see there's a little bit of extra yellow that they've added there in there as well. It's not just the ends that actually get the yellow. There's a little mild brushing of yellow also into the hairs as well. Matching to that, there's also what seems to be, I'm guessing this Punk Mogwai has painted the eyebrows. Whether it's a he or a she, has painted the tops of the eyebrows in yellow to match the yellow that they have in the mohawk. And there's also these little cool stripes of yellow just below there as well. Face-wise, not much does get changed. Of course, Gizmo would have had the big large patch on the one side of his face. This one does not have it. It has basically white spread across the entire face. Has a little chin there, a little chinny chin of white beard as well. But one thing that's also really cool about this one, I don't know if you can already see it already, but this one has a tiny little nose ring. Love the fact that they included a nose ring. I think that's such a neat looking touch. Body-wise, again, it's pretty much just the same as what we already get for Gizmo, but I really think how cool this head sculpt did turn out. Of course, they would have had to retool a brand new head. They wouldn't have been able to use this from an existing figure. Not even Mohawk. Not even the tiny little Mogwai of Mohawk or Stripe would have had this similar type of Mohawk here. We have it split in the middle and then off to the sides on either side. Of course, there's articulation. We're going to get more into that in a moment, but there's articulation in the ears, so you can move, of course, those back and forth like all the other Mogwais we looked at before. But yeah, you know what? I'm really happy with how this head sculpt turned out. There is still the ball joint here in the back. I'm going to talk a little bit about that also here in a moment. Body-wise, though, again, is pretty good. The coloring on the body, I can't help but notice, isn't quite the same brown as what we get here for the head. Now, a lot of that may have something to do with the fact that they also added a lighter brown. Provided my finger can get out of the way, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. There's a little more of the lighter brown that's added in there. And then down below here for the main body, there doesn't seem to be as much of it. So there is a little bit of a contrast difference where you've got the more darker brown happening for the body and a more lighter version of that more for the head. But it's pretty close. It's not too bad. What I was surprised to see, though, is that not only does the Punk Mogwai paint the tops of the eyebrows and the bottoms in yellow, but also have painted the front of the chest as well in yellow, too. The yellow is a nice touch. It does bring a little something extra in there as well. It bleeds, but it bleeds in such a way that paint you'd be expecting it, because it probably would have had to dye it itself. What's rather interesting, though, is if you look at the fingers and nails specifically are the same as what we get for Gizmo. They're kind of like that off-green color. For a punk, you would think that not only would they have painted the front of the face, the front of the body, but I would have imagined that they would have probably gone in there and painted the nails as well. Part of me is almost even tempted to take a little tiny bit of nail polish, or maybe even just a little bit of paint, and painting just the off nails in a different color, leaving that maybe green, painting that maybe purple, maybe painting that pink, just to bring a little more extra details to it. Because I think it would have been fun to see a little bit different colors, like it would have painted its nails. If it's going to take the time to stain the front, I'm assuming it's paint, and I'm assuming it's probably done it itself, and not necessarily this is the way it was created. May not be the case at all. But if that's the case where it's actually going in and coloring the fur for its body, I think it would have also gone and taken the time to paint the nails there as well. I'm just thinking these what-if scenarios for a plastic figure, so do bear with me. The nails on the feet are also the same colors as the nails on the hands. Again, you got the same sculpted feet. Nothing really, again, is very much different from what we get with Gizmo. Again, has still the same trackball. So if you're not a big fan of the trackball, it's just simply a continuation here for what we get with the Punk Mogwai. Essentially what it is you're going to run your finger across the back of the ball joint. And this ball trackball here, similar to like an old-style mouse, this allows the head, or at least the eyes to the head, to rotate all the way around. It's very hair sensitive, so as soon as you touch it, even if you touch it, it starts to flick the eyes. I still like it, but I think down the road I hope that maybe they devise a different way to articulate the eyes on figures. I mean, it works okay with Gizmo, and it works certainly as well for the rest of the Mogwais, but like the eyes can get very wonky very fast. And you can see the way so you can have it looking to the side, but I mean, like one of the eyes sort of just kind of getting a little lazy on the one side, and you can also rotate the eyes then on the other side, but it does get a little hung up then when you are trying to move it back and forth. Certainly for the rest of the articulation here for Punk Mogwai, the head is on the ball joint, still the same as all the others. It does look up and look down, and you can also rock it back and forth as well. In addition to that, there's some additional articulation that they've also added to the ears, similar to the other ones we looked at before. So you can have the ears sort of looking down a little bit, or you can also bring them up as well. Or you can even have like one down and one left up. Nobody's really telling you it has to be designed and displayed exactly the same way. If you want to have one ear down, one ear up, go ahead. All the power to you. Articulation for the arms. The arms are all also on hinge joints. So they're actually more on ball joints. I shouldn't really call them hinge joints, that they're on ball joints. So the arms do hinge out, but you can take the arms as well and rotate them all the way around. In addition to that, there's also the articulation here in the forearm, and there's also articulation in the hand. Really, it doesn't necessarily need to have articulation in the forearm. I guess it's still there. I mean, you can rotate really the arm without even rotating the forearm. I think really by having one joint, it would have been able to do just as much, because really the hand rotates on its own anyways. I don't think it necessarily ever really need articulation here. But again, I always appreciate the fact that they include that. No, nothing happening here really. It's just a solid plastic body, but there is articulation, of course. The feet do move forward and back, kind of split the legs just a little bit, and there's no articulation for the bottoms of the feet. It's a nice looking gremlin, certainly not one we've gotten before, as Punk Mogwai, just get the feet flat here, actually is very unique to this re-release. So like with all the other gremlins that we've gotten before, Gizmo happened to be one of them. Most of them have been Mogwais from Gremlins 2, the new batch. Punk Mogwai here, on the other hand, is one that's uniquely to this release. So if you only had collected the Mogwais before and really didn't have much of a desired interest to then start double dipping and getting the reissues, whether they did have the improved paint or not, if you're happy just to have the ones that you're having in your collection right now, you still will want to probably seek out and pick up the Punk Mogwai, simply because it was never released in the past. It is hard being a new-time collector now to go back to an old catalog of figures and trying to track them down for a collection. I mean, with NECA's not bad because they always are offering reissues. So it's never a case where you have to go online, pay the prices of what, I don't want to even say scalpers. It's not always the case where scalpers are the ones buying up these figures back in the day and now selling them for a marked up price. Sometimes they're just old collectors that are now getting rid of things that they have in their collection, and they realize that the value has obviously increased. That will then dictate what they sell the figures for. But with NECA's always good for reissuing stuff. They've done that for a while now with a lot of their horror tied-in property figures. They're now starting also to do the same with the reissues of the Mogwais. Now, it still means that you're probably going to have to go back and pick yourself up like some of the older Gremlins figures, especially like the new batch Gremlins. Like all of those Daffies, the George, those are all the ones that are, to my knowledge, have not yet been reissued yet. But at least now we have reissued Mogwais. So don't go online. Don't pay the stupid, crazy money that the sellers are selling them for. Sometimes as new-time collectors, you can luck out. You can go to places like Flea Market and get things for a price that The person who's honestly selling them just doesn't know what the value of them for, so you can usually get them at a pretty good price, or you can find them sometimes at a toy convention. Don't go, though, online to buy them. But at least in the case here of the reissue Mogwais, you can go directly to your local retail stores. That is, your Targets, your Walmarts, or even any other place that sells like Mogwai figures, or just Gremlins as a whole. Comic book stores are good for this as well. By getting the reissues, you're paying them at the price of what the stores are selling them for, not the marked up prices after the fact. Now, for longtime collectors, I could see some of the longtime collectors that already have a lot of these Gremlins figures in their collection. Why do I want to invest to get the new figures when they're essentially just still the same old figures? Well, what I've seen so far from what I've at least looked at, I've only looked at Gizmo, but I have the other figures, the other Mogwais that NECA have reissued, which we will be looking at in upcoming reviews. I can say, at least from what I've seen, the paint seems cleaner. They seem a little sharper with the details. The sculpts are all the same, but with the way they've painted them, they do look like marginally better looking figures than the ones we got before. And again, all those reviews will start siphoning their way through and onto this channel in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. But though, one thing that they have done, adding a cherry to the top of a sundae like this, NECA has at least thrown in a brand new Mogwai, one that we've never collected before. Even if you were ones that were collecting the older Mogwai figures, at least now there's a valuable reason why to start going to your shelves, going to your local store shelves, trying to track one down, because now we get ourselves a brand new Mogwai. Different head sculpt from the Gizmo. Similar body, yes, similar arms, similar legs, but at least we get a brand new different body and a different paint that goes along with it. Articulation is pretty much going to be the same. The trackball hasn't gone away, so if you weren't a big fan of the trackball, it still remains the same for your Punk Mogwai. But I like the look of this figure quite a lot. It's going to go very well with not only the Gremlins 1 Mogwais, but also the Gremlins 2, the new batch. Now, again, I can only hope we are getting reissues of the Mogwais. I hope we at some point get the reissues of the actual Gremlins. That's like Daffy, that's George. I'm trying to think of the other one as well. All of those, I hope at some point we are going to be getting reissues for, because again, the only option right now is going online, paying stupid crazy money. Don't go online and pay stupid crazy money. But what do you guys think of the brand new Punk Mogwai? Is this one that you would like to pick up and add to your rest of your Mogwai collection? If so, let me know down below in the comments section. And once again, a big thank you to the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide the sample of the brand new Gremlins Punk Mogwai that we could have a look at in this video. Speaking of videos, if you don't mind me saying, if you enjoyed this video, it would be hard to ask if you throw it out a like. As well, if you're enjoying the content you're seeing and certainly do want to stick around for more, then make sure if you haven't already done so that you hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. And though while we have wrapped up things right now for the Punk Mogwai, it's definitely going to be more videos coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.